While gas prices nationwide have gone down a bit, they are still very high. And the Biden administration's tapping into oil reserves and asking the EPA to allow for year-round sales of 15% ethanol blend gasoline. But Governor Albert Bryan Jr. says more can be done. He's urging the Biden administration to help get St. Croix oil refinery up and running safely in order to help with the nation's oil crisis. The Lime Tree Bay Refinery in St. Croix shuttered because of EPA health, safety, and environmental concerns. The new owners are working to reopen it. Virgin Islands Governor Albert Bryan Jr. issued a statement about the refinery potentially assisting in the nation's gas price relief efforts. In it, Bryan said St. Croix is home to a major oil refinery which could process more than 200,000 barrels per day of petroleum into much-needed gasoline and other fuels. And because of the refinery's location in St. Croix, it would make delivery to the east coast of the U.S. simple and fast. He said the refinery has new owners who are anxious to make the necessary investments and efforts to restart it. They're currently working with the EPA to make that happen, to operate safely and without threats to public health and the environment in St. Croix. In the statement, Governor Bryan Jr. said, quote, "I urge the Biden administration to prioritize this effort and to take every step possible to reopen the St. Croix refinery as soon as possible. The United States Virgin Islands can be an important part of the solution to high gasoline prices. This is an economic issue and a strategic national security issue." It went on to say the U.S. EPA must work to ensure that the refinery does not endanger public health, but it should not put unnecessary roadblocks in the way of restarting this important asset. The refinery is a key element to the economic sustainability of the territory. The St. Croix refinery can produce nearly 4 million gallons of gasoline every day, as well as much-needed jobs and economic development in the Virgin Islands. We want to work with EPA to ensure that the refinery restarts safely and promptly, and we need the administration's help to do that. And of course, we will keep you posted if there is any response on that statement, that letter to the Biden administration. So the good news, air travel is booming. The bad news, you're certainly paying for it. Delta Airlines says it boosted ticket prices to help cover higher fuel costs in the first quarter. When all is said and done, the airline didn't end up losing quite as much as expected. Now, between those higher ticket prices and a big uptick in consumer demand, the company is poised to turn a profit in the second quarter. Leisure travel has already picked back up, and now business and international travel are making a comeback as well. It's a sigh of relief for Delta and the entire industry as a whole in the face of sky-high jet fuel costs. Just make sure you are prepared to pay up for those tickets. More now on a story we brought you earlier this week. The upcoming hurricane season this year could rival that of 2021, which ushered in a record-breaking 21 named tropical storms. Researchers say that number is above average, and it's not welcome news for Americans still digging out from the debris that last year's powerful storms left behind. Skylar Henry is in Washington as federal officials warn it's never too early to prepare.
It's been nearly 8 months since Category 4 Hurricane Ida carved its devastating path from the Gulf up through the Northeast, directly killing 55 people. Some Louisiana residents are still living in trailers.
It's going to be a long time before we come back. Real long time.
Now, a recent Colorado State University study predicts this year's season from June through November could see 19 named storms with 9 hurricanes.
If this forecast verifies, this is the 7th above average season in a row.
Alex DeRosier is a climate specialist whose research was part of the study.
It only takes one storm in your area to make it an active hurricane season for you. Even if it's a well below average season, you should still be ready.
That's the message FEMA and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration also took to a hurricane conference in Orlando, Florida. They say complacency and lack of preparedness are what keeps them up at night. They want all Americans, no matter where you live, to have a plan.
Do you know how you're going to evacuate? Do you know where you're going to go?
You got to have that plan ready to go.
Federal administrators also point out that recent storms like Ida tend to hover over land much longer, impacting their timeline to get the message out.
These storms are getting worse. They are getting worse. We're going to have less time to warn people.
These federal agencies say they're also doing all they can to expand their outreach, including diversifying their teams, especially to Spanish-speaking communities, to reach everyone potentially in a storm's path.
At Wednesday's conference, federal officials also warned of indirect deaths in the aftermath of major storms, such as heart attacks and carbon monoxide poisoning caused by improper use of generators. They say people should have their supplies gathered and learn proper generator safety measures ahead of a hurricane or tropical storm. COVID-19 cases have spiked a bit on all 3 islands in the territory. The small spike we're seeing is an indication that the BA2 Omicron subvariant has made its way here, although sequencing hasn't come back at last check from the Virgin Islands Department of Health in order to confirm that. According to the latest numbers, there are currently 161 cases territory-wide, with 75 on St. Croix, 79 on St. Thomas, and 7 now on St. John. As we've been reporting, there is an outbreak of the bird flu across the nation. Our USVI News' Haley Potter spoke with a wildlife expert who has everything you need to know.
Avian influenza, better known as the bird flu, has been taking the lives of birds throughout the country. The worst avian flu outbreak in 7 years has killed more than 20 million birds in 24 states.
There is some caution you should take.
Wildlife biologist with the Michigan Department of Natural Resources, Brian Rawl, tells me if you come across a dead bird, do not touch it, and especially don't bring it in your home. The bird flu is most commonly spread in waterfowl like ducks and geese, but it is possible to spread to any type of bird. And his number one piece of advice for the everyday person is to avoid hanging bird feeders and feeding the birds this season.
Or if you feed waterfowl, I really do not recommend doing that at this time. There are some people that live on lakes and ponds or those kind of things that enjoy watching ducks and geese. But that is a real easy way to spread the virus.
If you have chickens at home, he says to limit their exposure to wild birds.
Do not let wild birds feed from the same, whether it's a pail, trough, whatever it may be, where your chickens are feeding. That would be an easy way to spread it.
He says now would be a good time to keep your chickens locked up in their coop until the temperatures start to rise and the virus subsides. If you hunt spring turkey, he says don't harvest a bird that looks sick and always heat the meat to 165 degrees to kill any virus. The bird flu does have the potential to transfer from bird to human if you touch a dead or sick bird and then don't wash your hands.
It can be aerosol as well, so if your flock had it and you were in the chicken coop, it could be aerosol in the chicken coop.
Haley Potter, USVI News.
The best thing to do is to call the DPNR if you come across a suspicious dead bird to see if it needs to get tested. The bird flu certainly isn't stopping an Easter tradition. VI First Lady Yolanda Bryan is hosting Easter egg hunts on St. Croix, St. Johnny, and St. Thomas. The children's Easter egg hunts will include mini parades, games, prizes, and other treats. On St. John, the hunt is going to be at 2 p.m. on Sunday, April 10th at the Battery. Mrs. Bryan also has Easter egg hunts and fun children's events scheduled for St. Thomas and St. Croix this week. On St. Croix, the Easter egg hunt will be at 2 p.m. Thursday, April 14th at the Agriculture Fairgrounds. And on St. Thomas, there will be 2 events on Saturday, April 16th. Toddlers are invited to join the First Lady from 11 o'clock in the morning until 1 p.m. for an Easter egg hunt in the First Lady's Garden on Government Hill. The celebration continues for children ages 3 to 13 with free carnival rides from 2 to 5 at the Fort Christian parking lot. So that's happening this weekend. One St. John already happened.